All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on this knife, and this is the Boker Smoky Mountain Knife Works Exclusive Copper and Burlap Micarta Barlow. So this is a knife that I was actually aware of for a while, and I have wanted to have a German-made Boker for quite a while. So you can see that this is stamped Boker Solingen. I'm never really sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is a Boker that's made in Germany. They do have knives that are not made in Germany, but their German-made knives are more expensive, and particularly their Barlows. So I actually looked at a Boker Barlow at Smoky Mountain Knife Works when I was able to stop there. And I've wanted one for a while because I love Barlow knives. If you love Barlow knives, I did start, and we have a really fun club going for people who love Barlow knives called the Barlow Bearcat Club. I'll put a link in the description where you can find more info. But I love Barlow knives, and so I wanted to get one of their Barlows, but they tend to be really expensive. So, you know, if you're buying from an American store, they tend to be in the $200+ range. So, you know, more expensive than a GEC, even getting towards a GEC on the secondary market. So being relatively expensive, it's just something that I never picked up. And then Smoky Mountain Knife Works had this one for sale for $116 or $117. And I decided, actually someone posted about it in the Barlow Bearcat Club. And I just decided, you know, time to grab one, because at that price, $116, it's about $100 less than really any other example that's a true Barlow that I've seen. They have some integral Barlows, which are really just a boy's knife or a jack. But of the ones that have an actual elongated bolster, it's about $100 less than any of the others that I'm aware of, at least if you buy in the US, at $116. So I decided to pick one up, and I'm really impressed with it. So it has a really great look to it. Now, it didn't come with this patina. It came, you know, nice and shiny with the copper and the pins, copper on the bolster and the pins. But in carrying and using it, it has got a nice patina that I actually really like the look of. It really looks rustic to me. And that's, you know, enhanced by this burlap micarta. This is good looking burlap micarta too. It's very similar to what you might see on a GEC or a Northwoods. And here is a really good example in the GEC number 47 Viper. You can see very similar in how that micarta looks. So I was really happy with how that looked. And then the blade is really interesting on the finish. So this blade came with about the hardest stonewash and patina finish I've ever seen. So it must have been some kind of acid etch finish to it, but it definitely has a stonewash kind of either under or on top of that acid wash finish. Now I actually polished some of the patina off of this because it was just too heavy for me. It was all, you could actually feel the roughness of the patina on the blade. So I took a sunshine cloth and kind of, you know, polished a little bit of that patina off. But it is O1 steel, so it's not a stainless steel. It is definitely a carbon steel. So I think probably, you know, part of the reason they put such a heavy patina is, you know, so if someone who's not used to carbon steel gets this knife, it's less likely to rust. This heavy of a patina definitely will help, you know, keep the rust away. So has a really, really heavy patina on this blade and an interesting kind of rough stonewash, I would say. But again, at first I was like, wow, that's too heavy of a patina. But again, I think that it goes really well with this rustic look that it has. So I really ended up liking that after polishing it a little bit. And then a really classic clip point blade shape. You can see it's a super classic clip point. It doesn't have any swedging, so it's just kind of a plain clip point. No swedging, but it does have the long pull. And then the action is really nice. Again, I think that it improved from polishing the tang a little bit. I actually, you know, with my sunshine cloth, polished this tang a little bit, and you can see probably that it's a little bit smoother looking than the actual blade. And the same on both sides. And I put a little bit of mineral oil in here like I normally do. But after all that, the action is really nice. You can hear it has that beautiful sound, beautiful walk and talk. snaps closed, snaps open, and the back spring is really flush also. You can see it's pretty much perfectly flush at full open. It is maybe slightly like less than a millimeter high at half, and then pretty much perfectly flush at full closed. Now, it doesn't have any blade play, really solid, even after a little bit of messing by me with it, which I'll talk about in a second. And it doesn't have any blade wrap either. You know, I've felt for it, I've used and carried this knife, no blade wrap, and it sits nice and deep in that frame. So you can see that that tip is nowhere near proud. So I really like that. The only construction downside to this knife is that it is not super well centered. And it's partly because it actually is a relatively thin blade well, but it is not perfectly centered. Now, I actually, don't tell Boker or Smoky Mountain Knife Works, but I actually tried to what you might call crimp. So in the factory, at least GEC, when they're making these knives, if they are off-centered or if they need to be off-center to fit multiple blades in, they'll actually bend the knife at the tang because the tang tends to be softer than the blade itself. And that's so that the back spring wears evenly, because for it to be springy, it's going to be a lower hardness than the blade. So they tend to, at least at GEC, tend to make this tang area a lower hardness. And so you can actually bend it a little more easily there to either center it or to offset the blades for multiple blades to fit in. I tried to do that, and it might have helped a little bit, but not very much. And thankfully and honestly, amazingly, it didn't seem to create any blade play. So that can definitely happen from trying to do that. I have tried to do that on other knives and cause blade play. Thankfully, it didn't cause any blade play. And I don't really think I'm going to mess with it anymore because it's not rubbing the liner there. It's, very close, but not rubbing. And if you were to choose which side a knife would be off-center to on a slip joint, I would choose to the show side. And the reason for that is because if you do use the nail nick, just by necessity, you're going to have to push into the blade that direction. So, it's going to push it away from the liner that it's actually closer to. So if the blade was off center to the other side when you're pushing it, it would be pushing it closer to the liner that it is already closer to. So, is that a huge deal? No. I think if this had been a $250 knife, like some of the, or all of the other Boker Barlows made in Germany are, then I might have been a little bit more upset about it, but it's something that doesn't matter too much to me. I just don't care as much about centering as some people do anyway, especially considering that it's so nice everywhere else. The pins are nicely done. The handle is really rounded, so I want to show you that, and that's going to move me into some comparisons here too. But you can see that this handle is really rounded, so it fits great in the hand. It feels good in the hand, and it's, comfortable to carry, and it's a great size too. So speaking of the size, I'm going to show you a comparison between this knife and a couple GEC Barlows. So here is the GEC number 14. So this is the smaller. There's the 25 also, but of kind of similar handle shapes. The 14 is the smaller. Here is the 15. And then also the 86. So you can see that the Boker kind of sits closest to the 15, but actually between the 15 and the 14. So it's not quite as big as the 15. It's not quite as small as the 14. I think it's a great size, to be honest. I think, I like all of these Barlows size-wise. I don't mind the size of any of them. But I think for, a nice, small, easy-to-carry knife that's going to be big enough to do pretty much all of your, normal cutting, I think it's a great size. And then, like I said, I want to show you a comparison. Most GECs and, I guess knives I'm aware of in general don't have as much of that rounding. You can see that the bone is a lot flatter on this GEC. And I'll show you at least the Barlows. Here's an 86, another GEC 86. A little bit more rounding on the 86, but still not really anywhere near as much as on this Boker. So, I'm really happy with it. I think it's a really nice knife, and I'm happy to have a German-made really knife in general, but especially Barlow in my collection. And the great news is that this knife actually is on sale for even less at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So I just checked before this video, and as of making this video at least, it's on sale for $99.99, I think. So $100 basically. At $100, this knife is less than 50% the price of really any other Boker German-made Barlow, or at least what they call Barlows, from USA, dealers. Now, you can also get them from overseas dealers, which some people do. I know some people in the Barlow Bearcat Club have talked about purchasing them from overseas, European dealers. So that is an option, but, if you want to not go through that hassle of the shipping and the waiting and all that, you can get this knife for under $100. I believe that includes shipping, but basically $100, whereas all of the other options are, over $200, or at least close to $200. So I would recommend it. It also comes, real quick, with a huge box, way bigger of a box than I think it needs. But the nice thing about that, if you don't have any, knife storage yet, is it does come with a nice little pouch. So I just want to show this real quick, because this pouch is big enough and well made enough that you could really use this to like carry a few of your nice knives around. So just a quick aside there. But I really like this knife. I think it's a great deal at the price that they're selling it at. So, if you want to get a German-made Barlow, go grab one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my social media. I am on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.